free events is to chat with women that I worked with, or chat with women who are going through health journeys. There's a lot of women watching live and lots of women who are watching on the replay. So why don't we just kick it off? And why don't you tell me your name and what you do, and maybe some of the health struggles that you were going through before joining my program?
Okay. So
Just to start.
my name is Lynda Lippin. It suddenly got really dark in front of me. It's okay.
Yeah, it looks like you have a beautiful sunny day behind you.
Yes, it's the light situation.
Yeah.
My name is Lynda Lippin. I'm 55 years old. I live in Lower Manhattan, and I am a former academic. I was a philosophy and women's studies professor for many years. And then I left academia and started teaching Pilates full time. And I was drawn to Pilates partly because it helped me and my own body get through, you know, graduate school and and my junior and senior year of academia, of undergrad. And I felt like it was, a really good method of exercise that could help the maximum number of people possible. And I did that actually part-time while I was in graduate school and while I was teaching, and then continued full-time. So currently I'm the CEO and founder of Lynda Lippin Pilates. I serve women over 50 who have osteoporosis and or chronic pain, um, online only. And I also serve Pilates teachers who need continuing education and help running their businesses and building their businesses.
Busy woman.
A busy woman. But
Yeah.
in the middle of the starting of my first Pilates studio, that opening and getting my PhD, I had severe endometriosis. And I had severe endometriosis from, I was diagnosed very early. My mom went to like one of the top doctors, here at Mount Sinai, and he was one of the early endometriosis researchers. So I was very lucky because, women are still not getting diagnosed
Yeah.
properly with things like this.
Yeah. How many years
So,
later is that? A few. That's a
right.
lot. That's
Now,
scary.
the
Yeah.
issue with things like endometriosis is that the diagnostic process for it involves abdominal surgery, right? So, and I used to kind of blow off the laparoscopies, right? Until I had like 5 or 6. And that's, when I got my belly button pierced because I was like, I want a scar of my own
Mhm.
choosing, my own doing. Um, and then it ultimately ended in a total abdominal hysterectomy, um, which basically saved me. Was really one of the best things I ever did for myself, but left me again with a pretty significant kind of hip bone to hip bone scar.
Yeah.
Now, I did tons of work on that scar as soon as I could. I mean, I was lucky. I owned a studio. I had a team. I had massage
Mhm.
therapists and shiatsu people and PTs, and I had tons of myofascial release. I mean, painful. I remember laying there saying to saying to the massage therapist, like, I'm gonna curse at you. Let's have
Yeah.
a safe word because don't get upset when I curse at you because it's gonna happen because it hurts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that was, 25, 30 years ago now. And what I realized in the intervening years is that although I am, in touch with my abdominal muscles work fine. I can do the things, that I
Mhm.
need to do. I can lift heavy objects. I don't have any more issues with intra-abdominal pressure or anything like that going on. Did a lot of pelvic floor work, did all the stuff. That there was still things weren't quite together.
Yeah.
Um, I had, other ancillary things like shingles and, other things happening. Um, and then when I met you and you started talking about things that made sense to me, because that's another thing, because I'm very, very good at what I do. And I only like to work with people who are very, very good at what they do. Otherwise, I'd rather just do it myself
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
bother. So just know
Yeah,
that. Like I don't hire a lot of practitioners for that reason, because I find most of them like
yeah,
aren't as good as me, or me if I was doing that job. So I
yeah,
just don't.
yeah. Okay.
Um yeah, but when I met you, and you had this very kind of holistic, a little bit of kind of Eastern spiritual stuff, but very grounded in like science.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
fan. I'm a fan of the science. And what you said made sense, and especially about having so much scarring, and
Mhm.
let alone the internal scarring, right? Because I'm sure there's internal, scarring as well. I mean, I've had cystoscopies, I've had laparoscopies, I've had parts removed, there's been a lot. Um, that suddenly I was like, I wonder, like, if I really started working at that in a guided, appropriate way,
Yeah.
right? Because, Kendra, every single month, right? You give us the guide. And inevitably, I'm the one who practices the thing before the meeting,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because that's
yeah.
me.
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
does it too much or too deep or too. There's like a two there somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I come back and I'm like, well, I don't like that because because it hurt or it took too long or something happened, and inevitably you're like, Lynda, that's because you don't need to go that deep or that
Yeah.
much or that whatever. Um, and then I do it the way you tell me to, and it works fine. And I
I feel like you're touching on, like, something so good. I think you're describing, like, the modern person. Like, obviously, you're not the only one who's doing it in this way. You're describing the modern person so well, like someone who, you're busy, we want it this way, but we also know that we appreciate guidance, but we don't quite know where to find the guidance, but our natural kind of intuition is to just do it how we're naturally inclined, which is in the
right.
modern world is like bigger, harder, stronger, faster, do it now, I got 15 minutes, do it now. And so
Hmm.
it's just that's so good to hear coming from you just to highlight it because I'm sure so many women who are watching this are also inclined to do it that way and how important it is to have a guide, have someone to share the real kind of step by step unraveling process. Because I've
Right.
spent so long, almost a decade now, kind of like perfecting the steps that I think women need to go through so they don't go too hard into something and or go too slow into something. There's this nice kind of sweet spot. So what Lynda is describing is at the top of every month, I make a guidebook. I give you not only do you have the live classes that you come to, where we all come and we learn and we talk and we share and ask questions. But I also make a guidebook at the top of every month, and it's pretty detailed. It will give you like the words on just the word description of what to do. Sometimes I make you guys like videos on what to do, which sometimes Lynda does them before. She's eager mode and does them
Yes,
before I've taught
I
them,
do that.
um, which is fine because you're like totally open and honest and can reset and go, okay, this is the real way, and you get the benefit from it. But this is the way that we kind of roll out, and it's been really wonderful to kind of watch your transformation and hear some of the things that have been positively changing since you started the program. So we're on the middle of month 5 out of the 12
Hmm.
months with this first Enliven group. So why don't you just briefly share some of the like biggest symptoms that you were feeling or like before the program? Like what are the things that were really bothering you?
I guess I was feeling stuck more than anything. I wasn't kind of sleeping well. I was kind of, having some back stuff. And then in July I had that, that major, like
Mm,
never ending fifth shingles outbreak.
yeah.
Um, and I was like, I got to do something. So something needs to shift. And, interestingly enough, another thing that shifted for me since I started working with you is that I now exercise myself the way I exercise my clients.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, because I was always that trainer who was like, "Yeah, you don't need to do the high impact stuff. Like, we can totally strengthen your bones and get you moving and get you pain free without that." And and I've developed these techniques and it works fabulous. And then for myself,
Mm.
yeah, I was doing the high impact, high intensity, because that's what I had always done. And it's an endorphin high, let's face it.
Mm. Yeah.
You get done
Yeah.
with that, you get that like rush of endorphins. You're like, this is
Yeah.
awesome. But it was, clearly not working for me.
Yeah.
So I've slowed that down. I've incorporated, what I like about the practices that you offer, Kendra, is that they don't take a ridiculous amount of time.
Yeah.
They're relatively easy to do. And even if I kind of question sometimes why, there's always a reason. And we can
Yeah.
always come to you and be like, I don't why. I
Yeah.
don't get it. Why?
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like, I'll tell you. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Which I
I
love.
also like the group. I like the way, it's well, I think you kind of attract kind of who you are and who you want to attract, right? And so what you ended up with is a group of highly intelligent women who are struggling in many ways, that we're now seeing are kind of centered on really dealing with these old kind of physical scars and reconnecting with our bodies. I mean, I've never um I was as a kid, my mother always struggled with her weight and she was mentally ill. So she used to take me to all of her Weight Watchers and Overeaters Anonymous and whatever other like things she was doing. And they, as part of the game, would like weigh me in and like do the thing. So I always thought I was overweight,
Mm.
but I wasn't.
Yeah.
So now at 55, and my husband has, realized this over the last decade, I can't tell what my body looks like unless I see a photo of it.
Mm.
Um,
Interesting.
it doesn't, I always feel like I'm the same size and the same shape. It doesn't matter if my clothing size goes up or down. If I'm obviously taking up more room or less room, like in the bathtub or on a chair. um, for me, it's always the same. And not that that has shifted so much, but it's been interesting kind of getting back in touch with, places in my body that I'm not always so thrilled with,
Yeah. Yeah.
like my
That's a
lower
huge point.
abdomen.
Yeah. Yeah, anywhere where there's a scar, usually women are no longer thrilled with. And then especially there's something about that area below your belly button. If there's a scar there, there's always going to be quite an emotional story that goes with it. But then just
Mhm.
physically, it just looks. Almost always, like 90% of the time, a woman who has a scar there, C-section, hysterectomy, whatever it is, they don't really look at that part of themselves anymore. Maybe in the mirror or, just looking down, it's kind of it gets removed from their visual field, which I find fascinating. And to bring that back so that you can inhabit every little, like I say, nook and cranny of your body. You really want to live and reclaim your whole body. So
Mhm.
that's going to be a really interesting thing to see over the 12 months. Like if you do feel like you're in your body and you can get a sense of when you are changing shape or just feeling like you are present in
Right.
fingertips and toe tips. It's really cool. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about your biggest light bulb moment? Have you had a big kind of clarity moment in the recent future or in the recent few months?
I think that, for me it's been more of a process of like I'll slowly realize that something has shifted,
Mm,
right? So I'm not necessarily having these kind of bam moments, but then I'm like, oh, and kind of my approach to that is a little bit different.
yeah.
Or it's also been interesting for me doing the kind of movement pieces, right?
Mm,
Because um And actually, even now when I'm cueing my clients sometimes in Pilates exercises, I'm like, "Get really, really small and then get really, really big."
Yeah, it's good. It's great.
Um, but there are things that, like, I've always done that I hadn't necessarily connected in a
Mm.
energetic or other way to, the scar work. I mean, how I've managed to do this kind of deep abdominal and pelvic floor and diaphragm work for all of these years and not, completely connect it to what's going on with my abdominal scarring is,
Yeah.
just shows how we can just sort of
Naturally
push that
disconnect.
aside and just disconnect from that.
Yeah, totally.
I might connect with it when I have a client who has a similar scar, right?
Mm.
And they're like, "I can't use my abs. My abs won't work because they cut them." And I'm like, "Yeah, they cut mine too. They work."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But I've never really thought about maybe the tiny little areas that maybe they're not working all together well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then maybe what that did to the organs above and below.
Yeah.
So those are places where that I'm thinking about a lot more as
Yeah.
well. The role of the kidneys, the role of the liver, the location of these places,
Yeah.
what that means.
It's really like filling in your like knowledge gaps and just making everything really full and rich for your benefit, but also you're like taking that and helping others, which is really awesome. That makes me feel
Yeah,
really good.
yeah. Um, which I love because, again, like I said, like I don't do a whole lot of work like this with other practitioners.
Yeah, which I am very grateful for that we have found each other.
I
I
just
get that
don't.
badge of honor. I get like, I
Yeah,
was
exactly. Where we're like, yes, okay.
That's awesome. So why don't you share some of the biggest like well-being transformations that you've had? I know you've spoken about your sleep has been something that's improved, but anything else that you've
Definitely.
noticed, big or small, that has happened since joining the
I
Enliven
think,
program?
energetically, just things are better. Like, I'm a little more awake when I get up in the morning and kind of
Yeah.
able to just, start my day and kind of move forward. Um, I notice even at night that I actually feel a little bit better. Um,
Yeah.
I don't get as sore in my back, my legs aren't getting as sore, I'm breathing better, my meditation's better because 'cause I'm breathing better. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
and, and then even just some of the ancillary things that you just bring out, like, I can't remember his name, the guy who wrote the book on breathing,
Yeah, Patrick McEwen.
the giant book.
The breathing cure. Yeah.
On breathing.
Yeah.
And until then, it turns out that I have a client in my Pilates teacher mastermind who's working on that same breathing technique and working on that breathing technique for both herself and her clients. And it was
Mm.
like, oh, this is like a thing to think about, this ability to exhale
Yeah.
and hold
Yeah.
breath and
Yeah.
not have to inhale right away. And I realized I can't do that so much.
Yeah, I think if I hear like what you're saying and I kind of put it into small little form, it sounds like Lynda has had the tendency, and I mean, you live in New York, I think it's probably a little hardwired. You're just like hard and fast and just eager and can move very quickly at a pace that is quite accelerated. And this Enliven program has kind of allowed you to smooth out your life, take things down a
Mhm.
notch, maybe open up your eyes a little bit more and appreciate the kind of sweetness that's around that maybe you were missing before, and to let your body just maybe go into that place where more healing is able to happen when we're, as you know, in that like racy do it all kind of mode, which I think 90% of modern people are in. Can't really get much done as far as
Mhm.
transforming your health. So all of that sounds really, I mean, just getting good sleep will do wonders for someone. It's just a small thing we kind of, count it up as like, oh, it's just improved sleep. But the cascade that can happen from just something like that, feeling more energized, can really spread quite far. So that's all very exciting. I'm very happy for you.
Yeah.
Um,
Me too.
Good. The very last thing that we're all excited to hear, what's your biggest secret to transforming your well-being? If you had one secret to share with the women who are watching this live or on replay, what is the thing that you kind of keep front and center or hold close that really enables you to continue your well-being journey?
For me, it's just more about consistency.
Mm,
I if I if I'm not consistent with the routine, then it just goes.
yeah.
It just goes away. And I was kind of laughing about this because I was listening to I guess one of Glennon Doyle's podcasts last week where she was talking about her like journey with meditation
Mm,
and mindfulness. And they were and her and Abby were laughing that they went through the actual TM course
yeah.
for, 5 figures. And we're like, we're totally going to do this because we spent so much money on this.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Didn't keep doing it.
Yeah.
Stopped like the minute the course was over. And how many
Yeah.
times have we done that? And what I've, decided to do with kind of everything that we're doing is, as you know, is kind of place it into a container in my day.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have the things that I do in the morning. I have the things that I do before bed. I have the things that I do maybe in the evening when I'm kind of,
Hmm.
hanging out a few hours before bed. Um, and I find that, having the discussions, like even so for you guys who don't know, we do class on Wednesday. And, somebody said like, so do we have to keep doing as many of all of the things because now we're, 5 months in and we have many more things to do? And you were like, actually, you don't.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can, do them and do less of them. You can maybe not do them every day and use the ones that are really working well for you and resonating. Um, and then it was like, oh, okay. So and I kind of like that because it also gives me the freedom to sit down and look at those daily containers and say, okay, like what do I need to have
Yeah. Yeah.
on this day?
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
going to be of most use for me. So,
Yeah, and that gives
yeah,
you the real sense of being in control of your well-being of your day. You're like tuning into what literally works and what you don't think is so useful for you. And that just having that thought process running all the time. So you get to build your life how you want it. And you're not just taking like doctor's
right.
orders. You're just, kind of going at things somewhat blindly or passively. This puts you in the driver's seat, which I think is that is my end goal for all the women in that, the end of the 12-month program is to feel like I have a really good handle on these exercises, these breathing practices, these things that we're doing. I know what they do for my body because I felt it and I acknowledged it. And I know how to put all these things into my life so that I can continue on living this positive kind of unraveling of our own health, because I love to think that everyone's going to be 100% healthy in a year, but at least you have the tools so that you can continue on and really impact and take control, like take the reins of your own life, your own health, which that is what I want for all the women in there. So it sounds like you're already well on your way, which is great.
And it, as you know, like I had a varicose vein procedure a couple of weeks ago. And also because I was doing all of the kind of flushing exercises and all of those, I had like no issues with clotting, no issues with
Mm,
circulation, like none.
amazing.
Um,
That's
none of
awesome.
those problems, even though, I had shingles in the middle of that. So
Yeah. Yeah, flushing is it's a movement that I discovered. It's totally founded on the scientific flow of the circulation and the lymphatics. So that's something that we do inside the program to really flush out the toxins and just the debris in the body because of the scar. But like I said, Linda just put it perfectly. When you know what the stuff is doing, when you know the positive
right.
effects, you can apply it in your life. And that gives you the best, like that gives you all the tools and gives you the best direction to really move forward. When anything comes at you, whatever life is tossing your way, you have something that you can enact. So that's
Because
awesome.
lymph is one of those things that I had not that, I don't ever think about it or like know about it, but hadn't
Yeah.
really thought about in terms of incorporating into my kind of existing practices.
Yeah.
And now it's interesting when I do my other exercises and when I do Pilates and stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, this
Yeah.
is another reason why this is so beneficial is because we're
Yeah.
also
Yeah,
getting
moving
that
it.
lift movement. So.
Yeah, amazing. Is there any last words you wanted to share with anyone who's thinking about joining the program, or anything you wanted to share with the women who are watching live or on replay?
Well, I think especially since this is the last time you're going to be running this as the year program, I
Hmm.
really, encourage people to do it because you get the time to incorporate stuff. It's just like if there's a week when you like don't feel like doing new things yet, even though it's the beginning of the month, that's okay.
Yeah,
And you can actually
yeah,
still come to the meeting and be like, not doing it yet.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah,
sure, I'm not ready, not going there. And everybody is supportive of, what it is that, we all need to be doing. Um, I think like you're not going to get work like this at that price point. It's just
yes,
not going to
yes,
happen. Like
yes,
seriously,
absolutely.
it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
So I think, while you basically what I'm saying is while you have the connection, while Kendra's still doing one more of these as a 1-year program, and while you can still get it at this, incredible pricing, I would
yeah,
jump.
yeah, yeah.
And I
Awesome.
did when you like announced the 1-year program, I was like, I am on that.
Yeah, yeah.
That
I love
1-year
the one
program.
year. Yeah, I love it. So thank you for that. I hope that the women do come in and join. And the 1-year program is so special to me. So it is like a sad thing to do it one more
Well,
time,
and the
but
work
it's
is
so important.
intense enough that you need a year. You really
It's
do. I
true.
mean, we're like 5 months in, and I don't think I could have learned any more or incorporated in any more than we've already gotten to
Yeah,
up until now. And if it was like a 6-month program, we'd be, I
yeah,
assume, doing like twice the amount of stuff
yeah.
in
You are.
any given month. And I don't know that I could,
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure.